Kessler, here. Condella?
Here.
Walker? Yeah.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we open the floor for any public comments on our agenda items. Do we have any comments on our agenda items this evening? Having no comments, we will yield the floor to the superintendent for presentations.
Thank you, Mrs. Yaffe. One of the things that we always like to do is celebrate the accomplishments of our students, and we have several tonight that I'm going to invite Mr. Goldberg to come up to the podium, please, so we can recognize the students and all their accomplishments from the Mayor's Math Cup Challenge that was held on March 17th, so just a few weeks ago.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sherman-Lewis, Board of Education and guests. For the past several years, West Oak has participated in the Mayor's Math Cup Challenge. It was a math-focused only challenge at the high school, and West Oak has a pretty strong tradition of doing well. Mr. Goldberg has headed that up for many years. So this year, it was turned into a STEM and math focus. And so there was a mathematics competition and then an engineering competition. And it was exciting to see all the kids doing different things in kind of a STEMmy world and a math world. And I'd like to begin by thanking Mr. Goldberg and Mrs. Kluvers for encouraging children to participate, for being there, for helping, and really encouraging them to get involved in a STEM math world, because it's really outstanding. And West Oak did well. We didn't get to bring home the trophy this year, unfortunately. We lost that one to Fremont, but we did have the overall champion in math from West Oak. And I think our children should be very proud of everything they've done. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to call up your name. We're going to begin with the engineering side. And we're going to ask that everyone whose name is called come up, stay up here, and Dr. Sherman-Lewis will assist by welcoming you and giving you certificates and shaking hands. We ask that you stay. And I am going to announce the names of students who aren't here, but who also participated. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. So we're going to begin with our engineering students first. And I'd like to call up Carter Morris. Stay here, Carter. Jonathan Frankie Gordon. Eva Pechtel. Kiera West. Danny Shannon, he can't be here tonight. Megan Nickel. Ava McQuain. James Giraz. I believe he's not here. Andres Gonzalez. Anna Bonilla. Arlene Nieto. Candy Rango. Giovanna Moro. These are our engineers who participate in the STEM engineering contest. Congratulations. Let's take pictures. Come this way, boys and girls. Come this way.
You guys know how to make a
Crunch
pyramid?
together.
Yeah, I can make one.
We're good.
One more. Okay, thank you.
Good job, guys. And now I'd like to introduce the students who participated in the math aspect of the Cup Challenge. Salil Bagal. Salil's not here tonight. Henry Chutton. Eric Sweet. I think Eric's not here tonight. Nathan Spector. Ole Olivato. Andrew Chun. Jake Giraz. Samantha Torres. Alex Belinkas. I know Matthew Plummer could not make it, he told me. Angelo Albano could not make it, but he participated. Marissa St. Clair. Laura Jimenez. Last but not least, unfortunately the young man could not be here, but the overall champion at the middle school level came from West Oak. He also has participated in many math contests with Mr. Goldberg's leadership. He went to state, Brian Shen. And he's not here, but he's here. So we'll do one more photo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I would like to take a minute and ask Mr. Goldberg and Ms. Kluber to stand. They did an outstanding job getting these kids involved. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll ask Mr. Goldberg and Ms. Kluvers and all of the students and recipients if we could do a group picture, and we'll do everybody out there.
All I ask is that we just do one more award in celebration of recognizing staff members and spirit of celebration. And then as soon as that, we'll take a quick break, we can do pictures, and then if parents and guests want to leave at a time, you're welcome to do so. But what I'd like to do now is transition to recognizing a staff member. And this is a very special staff member because Diamond Awards are given to any District 76 employee who is recognized by an administrator or by another colleague for going above and beyond the call of duty and serving students and serving staffs in a outstanding, can you hear me okay? An outstanding capacity. So when this came across my desk, it was something and someone that I definitely wanted to recognize, because this is the first time that a non-employee, because she's a social work intern, was recognized by colleagues for going above and beyond the call of duty and serving not only students but staff and community members in an outstanding way. So I'm going to call Ms. Jenny Hoy to come on up to please recognize Ms. Alyssa Brewster.
Okay, I'm the school psychologist for the district, and I've worked with Alyssa for the past 2 years. She's been a practicum student. So this year, she's with me 2 days a week, and she's done lots of different things. So I'm going to read what I wrote about her, because she's pretty awesome. She's employed as a learning associate at Diamond Lake, but's been working with me as a practicum student for the past 2 years. She's going to school full-time to become a school psychologist, and I'm nominating her for this award because of her commitment not just to Diamond Lake, but to all students. She connects with students on a personal level and remembers what it's like to be a student. She continuously tries to make things better for students. As a practicum student, she asks many questions, but the most important one is always, is this what's best for students? And I know we've had lots of dialogues about that. She's worked hard to establish relationships with students and staff and to offer students only her best. Even on busy days where things are difficult, her enthusiasm for kids is contagious. She's definitely not just going through the motions of, oh, I have to be here a certain number of hours this week. Her ability to come up with great programming solutions and information about how to better service our kids makes the district a better, more positive place for students and for staff. So she's amazing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Right here, girls. Right here, one more.
Oh,
Dad needs one. Thank you.
thank you.
And if I'm correct on this, Alyssa is graduating this year and going to be a social worker in Sandwich, Ottawa, Illinois. Sorry, so she has a job. So there's congratulations again. And so as we transition to doing the professional development survey, this is a great opportunity for parents to take a nice group picture outside with Mr. Williford, as well as if Alyssa's parents would like to take a picture outside too. You are welcome to do so. But thank you everybody for coming and all your support of our program.
Come take more pictures.
Marcia, you and,
Now for the real excitement. Professional development opportunities and overview. This has been one of our goals and priorities for the past 4 years, and Dr. Taraka, as well as all the principals and the leadership team, have worked really hard in providing different opportunities for our teachers to have ongoing and continuous professional development. So this is a quick snapshot of just how things have changed, how they look a little different over the past 4 years, what opportunities we have for our staff, and all the things that they can be involved with. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Taraka, and then he and I are going to kind of share together collectively what we've done and accomplished over the past few years. So Dr. Taraka.
Yeah, so our professional development plan is really grounded in the Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching. This is pretty common practice in today's day and age, and it's really based on these 4 domains of planning and preparation, the classroom environment, instruction, and professional responsibilities. We kind of base our entire program on the 4 pillars of adult learning. And so we really focused on job-embedded professional development that's regular and consistent and routine, and it focuses on developing teacher leaders, developing professional learning teams, a strong mentorship program, and then offering opportunities for inquiry, lesson study with teachers, cognitive coaching, and peer observation. Some of the examples of our professional learning teams, I know we have used so many acronyms, so I'll go through a few of them here. It's just the instructional leadership team, the dual language leadership team, we have grade level and content teams, social studies and science vertical articulation teams, and I will let you go ahead and take a look at the rest of those on your own. And then we also have a strong mentorship program that we've developed over the last few years. We've got a 2-year mentorship program that includes formal and informal mentoring, which also includes some cognitive coaching, which is like a peer evaluation process, peer observation opportunities for new teachers, and then we also do quarterly professional development with myself and new teachers focused on the Charlotte Danielson framework.
And so one of the components that Steve had mentioned earlier was the leadership opportunities, and I know we made this a priority last year that every teacher or every staff member would have a leadership goal. And so one of the things that our professional learning teams do is have leaders on each of their teams. So as you can see, there's a whole host of the different committees that Steve had mentioned, but content leaders, so that for each of the subject areas at the middle school, grade level leaders for pre-K through 5, the dual language leaders, social studies, science, and their job really is to create the agenda for each of these meetings. They meet with their principal, they review what items they want to discuss, they look over the data, they facilitate those meetings, and then they follow up with those meetings. So those leaders really have an opportunity not only to work with their principal for leadership and coaching, but also with Dr. Taraka and Mr. Hansen, depending on what leadership team they're a part of. So that professional development looks a little bit different as we're trying to expand and grow our leaders within our staff. And then, as we talked about doing ongoing professional development, we have surveyed the staff in the very beginning, or excuse me, I should say at the end of the school year, we have done a needs assessment of what are the topics that they would like to see and do. And then we also talk about it as a district leadership team, what's coming up, but also what needs fine tuning. So it's not always what's the next practice that we're looking at, but also what is our current and best practice, and make sure that we stay, that we're effective in what we're doing and that we're doing things with fidelity. So we have 4 institute days that are built into our calendar, 4 full institute days. So this year we focused on social emotional learning, trauma-informed school practices, brain-based strategies, and we did that was in November. And then in March, we focused on transition, culture, and team building. So as we're transitioning into reorganizing into 2 campuses, and we will also be using our May Institute Day to do the same thing. We also have 7 monthly late starts, of which we are in our 2nd year of, and we do those almost every month with the exception of a few months of September and January. And each of those meetings are led by the content leaders that we just talked about, and there is curriculum collaboration. They look at assessments and make sure that their assessments are aligned. They look at data analysis, whether it's from the common assessments that they're doing or whether it's math assessments or progress monitoring data. Then they take that information and they make those data-informed decisions on what's best practices. Are kids in the right instructional groups? Are we doing what we can? Do we need to do more interventions? Do we need to do more reteaching? Then we also have 4 half-day in services, and what we focused on this year again was data review. As we talked about earlier, that Alpine data management system has been key, and learning how to use it, and training people on how to use it, making them familiar and comfortable with it. Culture and team building, like we talked about with the whole transition process of going from 3 schools to 2 campuses, or excuse me, 3 campuses to 2 campuses. There's going to be new people working together, so we're trying to really make sure that culture and team building that we've established continues, as well as equity and excellence, making sure that all students have equal access to opportunities, grade level articulation, so that's between and within grade level. So not only are they having grade level meetings weekly, we're also doing the transition meetings, so second can meet with third, and third can meet with fourth, and then, across buildings. So we're trying to give opportunities for that as well. And then also transition and future planning. What are your new teams going to look like? What are some of the building processes and procedures? Working with the new principals. So that's been another big focus this year as we transition. We also have 5 grade level curricular collaboration days, and those are built into the school year, but also into the summer. And those teachers, again, led by their content teams or their grade level teams, or whether it's technology teams, but those leaders put together the agenda for that, and that's based on the dialogue they have with their teams. But they look at the curriculum, they look at standards alignment. Do we need to refine anything based on how our students are doing, looking at the assessments, looking at the data, and looking at the learning framework. So they have 5 full days to plan for that. And then we have this, I believe, will be our 3rd year putting together a Summer Learning Institute. And again, that's based on feedback that we get from staff and the principals of what kind of professional development you want. So it could be something specific to a program that we're implementing. Like last year it was literacy. We can look at guided reading. I know Eric does a lot of work with IT and the IT team, and what are some things that they want to be doing. Math strategies, dual language strategies, and also a continued focus on health and wellness. And other learning opportunities is not only if we use our own staff or consultants that come in, but we also send people out, and again, that's based on feedback that we get from them, or if they come to us with an idea. But the bilingual conference, we've attended the Raising Student Achievement Conference for the past 3 years. The staff attend the Gifted Conference, the ICE Conference, which is the technology conference. Eric also does some nice after-school trainings with some of the library media specialists and other teacher leaders that want to come and share ideas. And I believe we share this with you also in our weekly updates, but the IT weekly updates where Eric has the PD topic of the week, or just a specific training on how to utilize a certain technology or a certain resource that he's come across. And then as things come up, or as requests come up, we try to accommodate things that to stay current and relevant with best and next research-based practices. And so just in summary, I think, when we first arrived, there was a professional development approach was, having a consultant, and maybe not everybody having access to that professional development. Only certain teachers had access to certain topics and certain resources. I think what we've tried to do, and we hope to continue to do based on feedback from staff and the leadership team, is just make sure it's ongoing. It's not a one-shot professional development and then they're done. We want to make sure it's continuous, and we want to make sure it's on a cycle of improvement. Always focused on what the goals and priorities are for the district, and that it's job embedded, it's done throughout. So the leadership teams that we've talked about, the grade level content teams that meet on a weekly basis and quarterly basis, I think, having those opportunities to be a part of your job has been also very beneficial. We want to make sure that things are relevant to what we're doing and continue to be rigorous, and that they're also based on interests, research, and needs of our staff. So that's just a kind of a brief overview of what professional development looks like, a little bit of our calendar for this year, and that it's going to be a continued goal and focus area going forward. So any comments or questions from the board? I see you smiling. We are too. So thanks to the board for your support, because I think a lot of that came with looking at the calendar, looking at things differently, and allowing more time for people to have to dialogue and collaborate with each other.
I would add that Dr. Sharma Lewis and Dr. Farang and I presented in November at the Triple I Conference on the topic of culture, and that there was also had leadership roles, or rather, we don't just talk about teaching leadership, but we were able to demonstrate that we in fact live it to a high degree and are continuing to enhance that. So I just want to emphasize that we have something that is impressive and a story to tell, and I would hope that there are other stories in there that some of you will take to other platforms to share your expertise. The things that you have done in the areas of curriculum and technology are probably things that other districts would love to learn about. So find those ways to expand our ripple.
And then I'd like to transition into, this will be our last meeting of the current board. I know Mr. Houtman and Mr. Borjo, Mr. Walker couldn't be here, but I know Mrs. Yaffe has a few things that she'd like to say, and Mr. Kessler has a few things that she'd like to say, and then I have a few words on behalf of our district that I'd like to share. So would you like to go first?
It's been 9.5 years. Most all of you still seem like movies to me. Me and Chris, right? Been here a while. So here's a funny story for you. I was excited at the idea of potentially getting on the board. There was a position open, and I decided to apply for it. And my boss at the time had been on a school district some time ago. He'd been on a school board. And so I was really excited because a friend of mine was on the board, Laura Davenport, so you may remember her. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting, I'm going to apply, put in my information. I went to my boss and said, yes, I think there's a chance I'll be on the school board. And he said, well, so what grades is it? Or what grades are they? And I'm like, I honestly wasn't quite sure. He said, how many students? And I couldn't answer that either. He said, how many teachers? I couldn't answer that either. So that was 10 years ago. So here we are. It's been a long, wonderful 9.5 years. I've learned a lot. And here are some things I'd like to share. One is just some of the things that most represent how far I remember us coming in this time. One thing is that when I started 9.5 years ago, we would get our board packets in paper form. So on Fridays, Jackie would run around to all of the board members' houses with big ones. And when we had a press thing, we would have it in multiple, like white ones and yellow ones, and it would be hundreds and hundreds of pages delivered to our doors. So I'm so thankful for Board Book. The other thing that kind of represents how far we've come to me was that a while back, before Eric was here, this is even before the one-on-one initiative. We had a technology committee, and they showed pictures of what our technology infrastructure looked like, and there were wires everywhere. It was like spaghetti. And so even before we could get anywhere close to where we have come now, we had to address that we just were living in the dark ages when it came to technology and having some rational, organized hardware and infrastructure. So we've come a long way. So a couple things I want to share in terms of my philosophy. The Mundelein Review posted as part of my candidacy that I said that I love government. That's not what I said. I was misquoted. What I said was I love governance. And so I just have enjoyed making sure we're playing our roles correctly. When we play our roles correctly, it works. And the board can inform and support and guide and hire the superintendent. The superintendent can do everything that a superintendent can do, and I think we've seen that play out here. So governance and doing it well matters. Another thing is I believe that a good board is not one that is harmonious or agrees, but that every perspective is shared. And I'm really proud that we have debate. It's mature and professional, but sometimes we did not agree on things, and I think that's exactly as it should be. And I've taken pride in trying to make sure we hear all of those voices. I also believe that a community is only as good as the people who raise their hand and offer to come help shape the community. And that's what the board does. This is not a job that we're here for the money by any means, or even the attention or the appreciation of the thank yous. People who raise their hands because they want to be a part of a great community. And for that, I'm deeply, deeply thankful. So I had some things to share with each of you. First of all, joy. I know of no parent in our district who has been more committed than Joy. She raised her hand to be part of the PTO and then be the president of the PTO, and then she ran for the board, and then she continues to be a part of the PTO, and she runs the dances, and she's running the 8th grade dance. There's nothing that this woman does not tend to and make sure is excellent. Thank you. John. We benefited from John and Elise's visibility in the district for a long time now. Before most of you were even here, Elise was a PR person for the district. And she has brought her wonderful enthusiasm for our district. But then when we said we need some help with the referendum, they raised their hand. Or maybe she raised his hand. I'm not exactly sure how that went down. But we are so much better off because of that referendum. Over the years, the most significant concern that I have had was that we were looking at tens of millions of dollars of unfunded facilities. And we would work our way through the other things, but that problem was looming and it was big, and I didn't want to be a part of a board that kicked it down the road. So, John was the one who said, I'll lead your community committee. And he brought people together and we passed that referendum with votes to spare. So we are so lucky that that has happened. We're so lucky to have John, and he's been very committed, and I will share my thoughts with him as well. Don. So Don's another one of those who raised his hands when we called and asked for help. Don is not the most verbal of us, but when he talks, he is getting right to the heart of the matter. Very shrewd, and we have benefited from his voice, and I'm so thankful to him. Dave. So Dave was a little hesitant perhaps about signing up for this. I was glad that you were able to kind of do it on the trial run, and thrilled that you decided to run. And we have this valuable asset here because Dave has a perspective of a teacher, of a union president, and now as a board member, all rolled up into one. Very valuable. We appreciate your commitment. Thank you. So now to our leaving board members, right? Is that the name of it? Brian. So many people might think Brian and I did not agree on a lot. And in fact, the opposite is true. Brian and I agreed on a lot of things. In fact, probably most things. And I really appreciated that he was focused on fairness. He really was mindful of fairness. And he brought that perspective to the table. He also really challenged me to make sure that we play our role appropriately, and he made me a better leader, and I'm thankful to him for that. So Michael, from the early days, Michael stepped up. He was on, I believe you were on the technology committee even before, right? And his previous experience in technology within the educational environment was very helpful in that capacity. And I remember sending an email to Michael and Mary Sharon and asking, okay, we have openings on the board, which one of you is going to step up? So in the tradition of your family, right, Tom had been on the board, so he put his hand in and ran for the board. And it has been just a joy to serve with you. And we're very appreciative. Michael was very clear about certain things. He brought a lot of humor and passion on the topics of technology, metrics, and prescriptive analytics. So we will look for you all to carry that torch on for him. That's everybody. Did I forget anybody? So I didn't go linearly in my notes. All right, so thank you. We don't get thank yous very often for this work, but thank you to all of you. And then finally to Bhavna and her team. My day job is kind of an expert on leadership, so I know it when I see it. And we are so fortunate to have someone who is able to share their expertise, their experience, and very strong leadership capability. And we're all benefactors of that. Our students, our staff, our community are all benefits of Bhavna's leadership. Beneficiaries, I should say, of her leadership. And I tip my hat to you for being such an excellent example of it. And to all of you for doing what you do so well, and someone here, I think maybe Kurt, was saying thank you for letting us do what we do. Is that what you were saying briefly before? Yeah, so we have been able to see you do what you do and do it really well. And that has been a true honor. So I thank all of you as well. So, thank you for the privilege.
I'll be brief. I was looking prepared, I think, so this is a little bit off the top of the head. But I do want to say and confirm everything that Lisa just shared. It's been such a privilege and an honor to be a member of the board. Getting my arm bent a few times by Lisa to make sure that it happened was a very, very good thing. When we came, and Lisa hit on this too, when we came to the board, when I came to the board, contrary to what some people might have said, the district wasn't broken, but it was like a child who's not performing at risk. It was absolutely considered at risk. There were problems. The relationships were divisive rather than driven, antagonistic instead of achieving. And seeing that was so painful and potentially tragic. But what I also saw was what convinced me to join the board, which was an incredible potential here in the district with the staff and with the people. And with Lisa's leadership at the helm, one of the really most impressive boards that I'd seen working in school districts, a board that cared that deeply and desperately about the impact that they could have in the district, and one that could work collaboratively, especially with Lisa's leadership. I can't stress it enough, honestly. She did a phenomenal job of making sure that even those individuals that felt strongly and felt differently from the rest of the board members still work together. And at the end of the day, agree or not, the vote came in, and we moved on, and we made things better. I think the toughest part of working for me was there was an education in learning to trust and learning to when to get that out of the way, basically. And I think one of the things we can be most proud of as a board, Lisa and I, board members in this period, was bringing all of you together and making this team happen, although whatever part we had in it, so that we could have faith and trust and get them out of the way. And it's been a great thing to see. There has been a lot of laughter, too, a lot of late night negotiations that I have to say many times ended with me laughing harder than I have in years. So thank you all for that as well. And I guess on the last note, I actually had Plummer a little while ago, who served for quite a while and was involved with the first negotiations, and agreed that serving on the school board is a little bit like a bringing a boat. The two happiest moments on it are when you get elected, and then the day you're leaving and saying I don't have to go back. So, that being said, again, it's a privilege and an honor. It's something I don't regret a single instant of, getting to meet everyone that's here and those that aren't, and serve in such a noble pursuit, and to see the actions we took bring you guys here to make the differences, to do the things that happen, to see Diamond Lake really become a diamond, not a diamond in the rough, but truly a diamond. It's just been awesome. So thank you all. Thank you, Lisa, for convincing me to join, and got to meet the new board members, and it's a great time to be here. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So I've prepared a few words on behalf of all of us. And I wrote them down because I'm not as eloquent as you, Lisa, and when I get emotional, I'm certainly not as pretty. So I want to make sure that I capture everything that I say. But what we've done is put together a slideshow presentation of as much as we could collect from the past 10 years. So we'll play this throughout the meeting, but we just want you to see all your time and your efforts and your dedication, what you've accomplished, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, thank you, Mrs. Yaffe, for your 10 years of dedicated service as a board member and the past 8 years as our board president. Mr. Kassler, thank you for your 5 years of dedicated service as a board member and the last 2 years as our board secretary. I know that without your commitment, passion, and leadership to the Board of Education as a district, we would not be on the positive trajectory forward, and I personally would not be where I am today without the two of you, believing in me and our collective vision for District 76. On behalf of the leadership team, our staff, the community, and most importantly, our students, we are grateful for you. It's not always easy to give up your personal and professional time and dedicate yourselves to help and support others, and at times make decisions that put the needs of other people's children above your own. These sacrifices and services take conviction to do the right things that may not always be the most popular. They take a selfless spirit and a generous heart to give so much of yourselves with the expectation of receiving nothing in return. You are each a role model and inspiration for all of us here tonight and also throughout our community for your collective 15 years of volunteer service and participation in over 250 board and special meetings. And yes, that includes negotiations. Your commitment, energy, and active engagement and participation on the board has been instrumental in making a memorable difference and positive impact on the lives of over 2,000 children and their families. I personally want to thank both of you for your continued confidence in me and also our leadership team. Your faith and trust in all of us allow us to carry out our vision and mission each day to the children and families we serve. Your professional respect and support are valued and appreciated more than you know. Mrs. Yaffe and Mr. Kassler, as well as Mr. Bordeaux and Mr. Walker, who can't be here tonight, your vision, your leadership, and your contributions have moved our district forward in a positive direction. We are a shiny example for others to follow, just as you envisioned. We wish you much success on your continued journeys to help and support others. You both will be greatly missed, but your legacies will not be forgotten. Thank you. Just a small token of our appreciation. So, Mr. Kassler, would you like to open yours first?
Oh, I see. Oh.
Thank you. Mrs. Jaffe.
Oh, Mr. Hoffman. You're looking at me to say something else, and I do have other more things to say. You said that this was something. It's a t-shirt that says any others. Wow, especially me. Thank you. That's fabulous. And this is my own. Aw, thank you. I also have one of these, which I will treasure. My brother-in-law is in the oil business and does all these big deals for multi-millions of dollars and has all these great things like this, but I can't possibly treasure any of them as much. I treasure this one. And I work for it. So, thank you. I had one other. Oh, there's. Aw, thank you. It's a gavel. That's beautiful. District 76 Board of Education President is Lucy Yaffe, 2011-2019. Thank you. The last part of my little speech that I forgot to say is to all of these board members here. Everybody in the room probably will appreciate that. Cheers to fewer questions and shorter meetings.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hanson and Ms. Byrne for putting this all together.
There's a lot of pictures, so you probably just want to glance at it.
And we'll send it to you. You can just put pictures. You probably just send it. So keep it.
Yes, but you said this over the last 10 years, right? So
I've been here for 3,
So we
so
got
I know
3
I took
years
a lot of
off.
pictures over the past 3
There-
years. There's a few from the past, for sure.
Okay, beautiful, thank you. All right, business, we have some business to do. So next up is our business agenda. These are items that are for discussion, have been discussed or will be discussed this evening, and it's like they are all in action. First up is the omnibus vote agenda. Items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered routine and are non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. If anyone, board member, staff, administrator, or citizen wishes to have a separate vote on any item or items, that item or items will be pulled from the omnibus vote agenda and voted on separately. Be resolved, the Diamond 76 Board of Education accepts and approves the omnibus vote agenda items A through E as listed. Comments or questions on this item? Okay, we have a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
Hale,
Yes.
Candela,
Yes.
Bordeaux, Outland, Kessler, yes. Walker, Yaffe.
Yes. Next up has to do with the attendance dates, the revised calendar. Be it resolved, the district leadership team recommends that May 31st, 2019 be used as the last day of student attendance due to the use of 4 emergency days taken on November 26, 2018, January 28, 2019, January 30th, 2019, and January 31st, 2019, as indicated in the 1819 district calendar. Comments and questions on this item? Do we have a motion to approve? Second.
Candela,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Bordeaux, Outland, Kessler, yes. Walker, Yaffe.
Yes. Next up are personnel-related items. Be it resolved, the Diamond Lake 76 Board of Education accepts and approves the personnel items as depicted on the agenda. We have, what is this one? Oh, it's an extended, okay, summer school, speech therapist, summer school special education resignation of a learning associate. Comments and questions on this item? Okay, we have a motion to approve. So moved.
Second. Hale?
Yes.
Kessler, yes. Bordeaux? Altman? Condell?
Yes.
Walker? Yeah.
Yes. That concludes our business agenda for the evening. Next up is board discussion. Any topics for board discussion? I had a couple of reminders. One is that when you seat the new board, you'll have 6 board members, and you'll need to follow the official process for pursuing a 7th board member. So all that timing, I'm sure you are planning for. The board will need to think about how they want to approach orientation for the new board members. The administration has plans to meet with each of the board members here, but any additional orientation that the board might want to do is something you guys can think about. Another thing that you'll need to address before too long is how are you going to have representation for District 76 at CEDAW. There's usually a meeting in June. I'm sure it's scheduled already, so maybe Daisy can get the date out pretty soon and just put that early on the agenda of things to talk about. If you're going to look for one person to take that responsibility, which we have done at times in the past, we also have taken an approach where we had different board members sign up to go for the 4 quarterly meetings that they are dependent upon good attendance. Anybody else? Next up is freedom of information requests, of which there are none. Notices and communications.
So we just wanted to share with you that, and I believe I mentioned this in a previous meeting, that we have a flyer that Mr. Hanson has created that will be sent out later this week as well as throughout the next couple of weeks. So we're partnering with PTO, and as part of their meeting, we're going to do a facility improvement showcase and information night. So if you just want to take a quick glance at the flyer, it's basically listing all of the improvements by building, as well as that night we are going to be presenting just what is that going to look like. So we're going to walk them through the improvements, what the referendum dollars were used for, what our progress up to date, similar to what we did at a previous board meeting, but then also kind of go through what the logistics are going to look like as far as our new food service program, what opportunities we're going to have for breakfast and lunch, what is that going to look for our students, the new updated online paying system, drop off and pickup procedures for parents, our new bus transportation vendors. So we may not have final plans outlined yet, but just to show that we know that there's going to be a start date in September. You know, what is 3rd through 5th grade, what is their school day going to look like compared to what 6th through 8, what's shared spaces, what are spaces that are going to be commonly used, how is that going to look. So just kind of walk through the logistics of that for some information on May 7th. So we just wanted to share that with you. That's going to be the evening, as well as there's going to be some other follow-up information about helping parents, just kind of FAQ, what's changed, what does it mean for my students, what does it look like. So we're sending home some information, not only with the end of the year report cards, but also mailing home flyers and information to parents as well.
Next up is the IASB resolution submission memo. Just FYI to us, right?
Yes, but it's the same resolutions meeting, so that here are the resolutions that are meant, so anybody wants to attend and be a representative, but those are the dates for the III conference in November.
Okay, any more comments on that? Next up, we have, the floor is open for any public comments and petitions on any other items. Do you have any public comments? Having no comments, it's time for others. Any others? All righty. At this time, the board will adjourn into executive session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity, and 4, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the district. May we have a motion to adjourn into executive session? Second.
Carmella?
Yes.
Hale?
Yes.
Bordeaux? Kaufman? Kessler, yes. Walker?